Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. This is René from German Motors and Engineering. Today we have a Ram DS body style here. This is the Ram from the fourth generation, and it's a Ram 1500, which are in our location here the Rams with the most numbers and the highest numbers on the streets. So there are a lot of aftermarket parts available, but we had not been able to find an exhaust system which really fulfills all our requirements. We had been looking for an exhaust which is loud when you want it to be loud, which is quiet when you don't want to disturb your neighbors, and of course which is street legal, and therefore when the police is stopping you, it must be in the papers of your car, so it needs an approval to be street legal, and there wasn't any. So we developed one, and this was a few weeks ago, and now that it's finished, I would like to present you the result of our work. But before we are installing it, I would like to show you how such a Ram looks from below, what it's about, this original exhaust system, and how we did make the best exhaust system for that vehicle on the market. But first let's check how loud such a Ram is. And when somebody from the police is stopping you beside the road, they have to measure how loud it is in a 45-degree angle between both exhaust tips in a distance of 1 meter, which is like this. And when I'm stopped talking, we have around 60 decibel, which is our normal sound right here in our workshop. Yeah, and now let's raise up the RPM between 3,700 and 3,800, which is the RPM where this vehicle is being measured before it went on the road. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we have around 90 decibel loudness of that OEM exhaust at that specific RPM. This specific RPM has been written in the title of the car, and you have to measure it at this RPM. So we are not measuring the maximum loudness, because all the cars have to be measured at the same circumstances. And this is, our lawyer here in Germany said, it has to be measured at 3,750 RPM, and that's what we've done. So 91, 92 decibel is the result, and what we also found is that such an OEM exhaust does not really sound very nice. Of course, yeah, you can hear there's more than 2-liter displacement and there are more than 4 cylinders, but that's not an exhaust system for a V8. And people who are buying a V8 from the States and who are investing that much money into gasoline, they want to hear how this gasoline burns away. So let's make some pleasure for your ears, and afterwards, when it's been installed, we will do the same, and hopefully we will see that the level of the sound when it's in the closed position is equal to what this car performed right now. And when it's open, let's see what happens then. That's our 1500 Ram from below, and what's typical for the 1500 pickup class is that they have an independent front suspension. It's a double wishbone front suspension, which makes these pickup class perfect for the use on the street. Of course, they have a lot of room below, so you can also drive those pickups off-road. But the true off-road vehicles, they have solid front axles, solid rear axles, so they can shrink. But because 95% of the customers who buy such a Ram drive them on the streets, those manufacturers, no matter if it's Ram or Ford or Chevy, decided to use independent front suspensions, because this is on the axle which is steering, which is responsible how the car handles. This is the perfect solution to have a very good driving feel. And for all of you who have driven a 1500 Ram and a 2500 Ram, you will agree that such a 1500 Ram drives like a normal car, and the ones with the heavier ones with solid axles, they drive like a truck, yeah, something that you want to have when you are working in the woods or wherever. wherever, yeah. But I forgot we have to talk about exhausts today, and the exhaust begins where the engine ends, and we have our catalytic converters. They are here, and the point where both join together is there. And because we don't want to prove emissions and everything, we don't touch the catalytic converters. We start from here, and this OEM exhaust consists of one big muffler, and as you can hear, there's nothing in there except of some plates and some tubes with holes in it, and it makes the car quiet enough, but it doesn't do anything for the pleasure of your ears. And this is why we want to change this OEM exhaust system, which is of course also very heavy, and we don't want to install just a different muffler which makes it louder, because here in Germany it's not allowed to be louder. You can improve a car by making it quieter, and yeah, our lawyer says everything which is louder than OEM is not allowed. So we have to find a solution that we can meet both the customers' desires and our lawyers' regulations. And so only a muffler which we exchange against the stock one, which is a passive device, cannot meet both. So we decided to make a system which has an active valve in it. So you have two ways. One way is as quiet as the standard one, as the OEM exhaust, and the other one sounds like a real V8 should sound. Other people are installing cutouts in front of the muffler, which make the car very loud when such a cutout is open. It's mostly electric or driven by pneumatic actuators and other things. But when you open such a cutout, all the sound does not exit the exhaust tips. It's exiting the exhaust below the car, and it does not sound very nice, because it sounds like an old muffler which is rusty and did fall off your car. Everybody who had a problem with a broken exhaust knows how how that sounds, and that's exactly the sound of such a cutout. So I don't like those cutouts. I don't like any passive mufflers. So let's do it better. So guys, this is our new exhaust system, and before we are installing it, let's talk about how it works. You know, we cannot change the geometry of such an exhaust system, because we have to end there where the exhaust tips are ending on your rear bumper. We have to go the same way over the axle. We have to use the same place for the mufflers, and we have to connect the exhaust pipe to our front pipe with the catalytic converters. So the shape we cannot change, but what we can change is the sound. And because such a Ram has a lot of room below, we have the opportunity to use more mufflers than the manufacturer of that car did. And they did only use one, but we used two. And the type of muffler which we used is not a reflection muffler. It's a free flow absorption muffler, and don't know if this word is the correct word in English, because I'm from Germany, sorry. But I hope you guys understand. And we have two of them, because we've experienced that with only one muffler, which you can change, because between loud and quiet, it's loud, of course, but in the quiet position it was not quite enough to get the sound level on the legal side. Therefore we have to use two. And how it works, how to switch them loud and quiet, I would like to explain you right now. You may see that the exhaust gases enter that first muffler not in the middle, it's entering the muffler on the outside. Or when the car, when the drive shaft is here, then this is the inside of the car. So yeah, it enters the muffler on that side, and this tube which is going through the muffler, it's a closed tube. So we could route this tube outside of the muffler, but it's does not look very nice, and it's more compact if we go through the muffler. So we are with the loud way, we are going through the muffler. We have a closed tube in here, except of the first part, and the second muffler is also the same. A closed tube goes through that muffler, and when this exhaust valve is open, the exhaust gas is doing what everybody is doing naturally. It's you're taking the easy way. So also the exhaust gas is taking the easy way and it's going directly to the exhaust tubes. And this sounds like you would have something between no muffler and a very, very small muffler, because there are only 2 points where this exhaust tube is open, and this is in the rear end of the rear muffler and the front end of the front muffler, because when this exhaust valve is closed, the exhaust gas takes another way. It exits this exhaust tube and goes into this muffler and goes through the quiet section. And the quiet section is quite different, because it's not a closed tube, it's a tube with not millions, with thousands of little holes. And those little holes lets the sound waves expand into the inside of that muffler. And that muffler is filled with glass wool. And this glass wool absorbs all the sound. But the exhaust gases, they can go through that tube without big restrictions. This is an open tube. It's like the ones outside here, but with those little holes, the sound can pulsate into this glass wool, and it's doing the same in the rear muffler. And when it's ready and when it's reaching the end of that muffler, it's finding the way back into our normal exhaust way, and then it's exiting the same exhaust tips in both positions, in the closed position and in the open position. For those of you who are not living in a country where those cars have to be quiet, you can switch the exhaust valve open and closed manually. But for those of you who are living in Germany or in other countries with strict laws regarding the sound level of cars, this exhaust has a controller, and this control box receives signals from the bus system of the car. You have an OBD port, and we are using that OBD port to read the RPM and the speed to define if you are momentarily in a situation where the car has to be quiet and where you have to meet our lawyers' regulations and sound levels. And then this exhaust is quiet, because the exhaust valve is closed. When you are standing still, or when you are very fast, and this is where such a car can be loud, even here in Germany, then the controller decides to open the valve and leave all the exhaust gases pass those mufflers without back pressure, so you can be sure that your engine will at least not die because there are restrictions in your exhaust system. So guys, the installation of the new exhaust system is nearly as fast as you did remove the original one, what you have to do is you have to cut away one of the OEM fixing points that's welded to the right frame, because that's normally there where in stock condition there's only a tube, but now we have a muffler right here, and both things don't like each other, so cut away that hanger or fixing point, or how you call it in your language, and yeah, put together all the mufflers and all the tubes as we did see before on the ground, and leave those clamps a little bit loose, because this opens the opportunity to arrange them in the perfect way and slide them more into each other or a little bit away from each other, and find the perfect place for the mufflers and for those fixing parts on the mufflers in those rubber hangers there. And when everything fits good, tighten those clamps from the front to the back. And when you are in the back, you can turn those tubes a little bit to find the right position for the exhaust tips, and those exhaust tips can be adjusted in their length, because they are also clamped to the last tube, and some of you may like it like this, some of you may like it more to the inside, some may want it to stick out a little bit more, so it's your own choice how you want to arrange those exhaust tips here on in the back of the car. We have them in different shapes and different colors, so choose the right one for your own style. And this one is an orange car, and the customer has black wheels and black windows, and he also chose black exhaust tips, which gives a nice overall look of the whole vehicle. Yeah, last thing to make this exhaust work is to connect the control box. It's very easy. You only have two cables and one plug. That plug plugs into the exhaust valve right here, and then you route the cable in a secure way, means not underneath the drive shaft and not touching any hot parts. So we route it here above the frame to the front of the vehicle into the engine compartment, and behind the battery we normally position this control box in a place where it's safe and not where it cannot be wet. When your engine compartment is very wet, search a place inside the car, and yeah, then just connect these little cables to a plus and a negative point on your battery or in the front electric box, and then you will be done. But let's see how it looks in the engine compartment. When you finally arrived with the end of the cable here in your engine compartment, you only have two wires which you need to connect. There's a black wire and a red wire, and black is always ground, and the red wire is 12 volt plus. And you can choose where you would like to connect the red wire. The easiest way is connecting it to the plus of your battery, but when you do it like this, your control box will always be active, and after a few weeks you may discharge your battery. So it's better to connect the positive to a switched plus somewhere here in your electric box, but first connect the black wire to the ground of the battery. That's always a good choice. Here is in this specific installation the black wire which we connected to that ground of the battery. We installed the control box behind the battery, which is here. It's also black, so it's maybe hard to see, but if you are driving in very, very bad weather conditions, or when you're driving through a river very often, then please find a place for that control box where it's secured against humidity and water, so it may not corrode inside and quit working after a few weeks. yeah, when this is done, black wire to the negative ground of the battery, plus wire to some switched plus somewhere in the electric box. And what we found is that, for example, the fuse number F78 is a good place where you can take the switched plus from. We have this little things here which you can connect instead of that specific fuse, and the fuse which you removed before has to be inserted in the lower position, and then this circuit is working as it did work before. But what you have done is that you did take the plus signal from that point, and you do not even change how this specific fuse was working, because you have to install a second fuse for this plus cable and connect that one to the red wire of your control box. So yeah, then the installation is done and we can see how the whole thing sounds. I hope you liked that video and that product at all. It's handcrafted in Germany and engineered in Germany. We are a little family-owned company, so we are shipping worldwide. And if you would like to contact us, you find all the details in the subscription of the video. Give us a like and yeah, subscribe if you want. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.